Hi guys, Dahlia here, welcome to my channel. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen the evolution of my first notebook to my full binder in some photos, but today I wanted to go through it with you. One of my favorite things to watch on YouTube is all about my novels, so instead of doing that, I wanted to kind of show you my processes, though I will be doing an all about my novel in the future sometime. I'm excited to do it, so let's get into it. The Acro-Contessa started out as a dream. There was this girl who was floating in midair on her back in a really dark forest, and she was paralyzed. She couldn't move, but yet she was still up in the air. So I asked myself, how did she get there? The answer being telekinesis. But then how did she get telekinesis? I thought I would dabble with an unexpected attack, and then I asked, why does she need telekinesis? And then of course, well, she's paralyzed. She can't move some of her limbs, or they don't work as well as an able-bodied person's limbs work, so she needs some way to move around. And then finally, what impact does this have on the story? And then due to my love of dystopian novels, obviously this came to a point where I said to myself, well, she has to overthrow the government while dealing with paralysis and an uncontrollable power. Finally, I purchased a floral notebook. The idea of planning my novel was new to me, as I was always a pantser. I'd never actually tried plotting. So I started info dumping some notes. These highlighted bits are here because I went back over it by the end of the book and chose the ones that I actually still wanted to keep in my story. As I noted these points down, or these ideas down, more things started just flowing from me. And funnily enough, I thought that this little notebook would be enough to plot my story. Of course, I was very wrong. Especially when one book became 3 books. I loved keeping my ideas in one place, and not just writing ideas down, but doing sketches and little plans and designing some languages and other things to go in my novel. I figured out what the race of supernatural beings were called, which is Acro-Genus, or to the enemy, Cancer. This helped me write down my processes for actually getting the name of them, and what it means, and how I came to that idea, and what ideas I had before coming to Acro-Genus. So acro in Greek is for highest or topmost, the tip or the end, whereas genus means species or a race. So therefore Acro-Genus became the most highest evolved race of humans. But I wrote and rewrote plot points down quite a bit, and eventually they turned into chapters. And then I could also write down the details of my characters and who was going to be in it and their details. And then some more notes about my novel and some important points, of course. The information on the races that I wanted in the book. The ones the governments had created, of course. And there they are again. And then finally I came down to my characters, which then led me to filling out my character reference sheet and writing it into this book. So obviously I did that with the last fair chunk of this book. This is when I realized that I needed more than one notebook. I needed 6, apparently, and this started my notebook buying obsession. Once I filled out all of the details for each book in these notebooks, which this is not even all the information, but I have filled out these notebooks so far. Once I had filled out these notebooks, I sat down at my local library on the biggest table I could find and outlined. This was as small as my first outline ever was. very tiny, realistically, on all these tiny little cards, because I found that these cards worked quite well for me to write down little small scenes. From the first outline came the second outline. After writing out all of these little cards, that's when I began writing the book. I stuck these to the wall in chapter points and started making chapters from there. I believe that I got to about chapter 9 before I realized that I needed another outline. This one wasn't big enough. So I started again writing the outline on little cards. But then I realized I didn't have enough room. So I started writing them on bigger bits of paper. But that wasn't enough. It wasn't too detailed. So there came my outline from chapter 13 onwards, as detailed as I could get it. I just ended up starting to do this. I folded pieces of paper over, and then I just wrote and wrote and wrote. My outline became so detailed that all I had to do was add in the meat to the bones of my story. I wrote out pages and pages of notes on my book. World, characters, details, to add, to remove, foreshadowing, everything. When I was stuck on a scene, I wrote out the problem. I made maps for my world. This is an old map. Tempula is no longer Tempula, it is now Thales. I had heaps of notes on chapters that I needed to revise or ideas for the next few books, and more character details, the place names, every single town in the places on my map. I kept count of my words. I designed book covers or ideas for them. I wrote down information for the copyright page. I formatted and did research on formatting, book blurbs, types of editors, anything that I could, more editing. I even formatted my own book, but I printed it wrong, so the pages are really tiny. But still, I was quite happy with the research that I had done, and just, well, I mean, the success of what I'd done formatting is actually really easy. After reading through the first draft of the Acro-Contessa, I realised it had no formal structure. We are used to reading a story or watching a movie with certain structures. They're easy to follow and live up to our expectations. So I researched some outlining structures. The one that stood out to me the most was the 3-act structure. This is actually a screenplay technique, but a lot of authors implement this now. I will be doing a video on the 3-act structure in the future, so stay tuned for that. So I went back to the drawing board and outlined the Acro-Contessa again. Since using this method, I love my book so much more, but you guessed it, it still isn't outlined enough. Now I'm in the process of using the hero's journey method of outlining along with the 3-act structure to create a more readable plot. This is plot points for book 2. Not only have I outlined this book more than I can remember, I've also reworked my characters numerous times. I know them now more than ever. I think I filled out my character reference sheet about 3 times for each character now. While playing around with these technicalities, I am also devising a language for the Bronicovians of my world. The race is hard-working, superstitious, and clearly don't speak a lot of English. They also happen to be my favourite race in the world that I've created. So Deshkian is a mix between the Dutch language and the German language. And so far I have numbers, days, seasons, months, alphabet, sounds, familial phrases, and other random words that I've added into book 1. So that concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed this short little introduction to the evolution of the Acro-Contessa, and if you want to know more, please let me know. If you have any questions or want me to cover a specific topic, please drop a comment below. If you want to follow my journey on other platforms, see the information on the description bar. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and more. I post videos every week on Thursdays and tags every other Wednesday, so subscribe and hit that little bell if you want to be notified. Thank you for joining me today. I'll see you next time. Bye!